Good morning, Chris at Tillman Family Farms. Hope you guys had a good week. This weekend we are going to continue our series on homesteading. We've decided to kind of allow this series to follow the seasons, what we're doing, what we feel like is a good course, but we're still going to stick to the theme of how to start a homestead. So basically what we're going to do is be telling you what we're doing throughout this whole thing and telling you where those things begin. So we're going to be getting some garden areas ready to start planting over the next couple of weeks after all these cold snaps are gone. We're going to start easing into some beginner livestock things that you could get into, even in a neighborhood setting. In some cases, you'll need to check your local ordinances and things like that, but we're going to talk about that as well. So you guys hang out with me. We got a jam-packed day of work to do. But I'm sure you guys will enjoy this and you'll probably learn something along the way. So hang out with me and we'll get started. In the last video, we got a little bit off track because of circumstantial stuff. There was a big storm coming in, but that's part of life. That's part of things that you're going to have to deal with, whether, if you're a homeowner or if you're a homestead or farm owner or whatever, you're always going to be, want to be prepared for storms and tie things down and check on your animals, whether it's a dog or rabbit or whatever it may be. So, but we're going to get back on track this week. We're going to go back to the first video. We were talking about gardening. We talked about all of the different types of situations that you could take advantage of, from bucket gardens to raised beds to planters to even gardening on your porch if you live in a big city. So today I want to talk to you in a couple of different levels of how you can prepare for that long before, because in today's video you'll see us use some of the things that we have around here to try to prep our soil. All right, so to start off with, I want to talk about your dirt that you're going to be planting in, period. Whether you're at some advanced level and you're making your own compost and you're making your own dirt and you're fertilizing that way, or if you're going to the store for a bed or a bucket or anything like that to buy something to plant in, your dirt is the most important thing to make sure that that dirt has everything in it that plant needs to grow and strive and provide the fruits or vegetables that you are expecting of it. 100%, if you are a beginner at this, I do not want you to try to do advanced things, okay? I want you to go and I want you to buy some potting soil from a Lowe's or Home Depot or a hardware store or anything like that. I want you to use some type of fertilizer. You can make a decision at that point whether or not you want to buy an organic fertilizer or if you just want to buy a regular old chemical fertilizer that they have on the shelf. We don't use that kind of stuff. We'll go into a lot of that later, but I would recommend for you to do that. You're going to have some really good results from that. Things are going to grow really nice, and that's going to allow you to kind of jump over a learning curve of how to deal with composting and getting the things in your soil naturally. You'll be able to put them in there and know they're there, and your plants will do well as long as you do the right things for your plants, sunshine and water and all that kind of stuff. So that's the biggest thing. If you are a beginner, I want you to go buy these things. I don't want you to try to make it yourself. I don't want you to go in your yard and think that that dirt back there has everything in it that you need, okay? Start with really, really good dirt for the best results. All right, so you've spent a year at buying dirt and doing things like that, and you may be in a situation in a neighborhood or in an urban setting to where you're in a big building and all you can do is plant stuff on your porch, and that's fine. You may always use the method that we just talked about, buying your dirt and buying your fertilizer. So let's say that you're able to skip to the next level. You have a yard that you can plant things in the ground. What you'll want to do is you'll want to cultivate that dirt in some way, shape, form, or fashion, whether that's a tiller or whether you do it the hard old-fashioned way with a shovel and a pick and a hoe and things like that, and break that dirt up as small as you can. At that point, you can take that soil in your backyard and use it to plant in. If it is brand new, I do have some things that I would like to suggest that you add to that soil to make it better. In a lot of cases, especially if you're here in the South, you're going to be dealing with red clay or some type of other hard soil that is not going to allow roots to grow and expand and reach out and get the things that they need. So what I normally suggest to people that are first starting off, this is still buying things that you can source at stores. You need to buy peat moss. Okay, so peat moss comes in big bales. I say big bales. They come in a bale that's not much bigger than a bale of pine straw or bale of hay or something like that, but they're compressed into the plastic. Once you turn your soil up and get it loose, you can add that peat moss into that soil, and it's going to give you some nutrient, not a ton of nutrient, but the biggest thing that it's going to allow you to do is after you mix it into that soil really well, and after this I will put in a couple of pictures of some tools that you could use to help break that soil up that would be investments for you for the future. But mix that peat moss in, and what that peat moss is going to do is it's not going to allow it to break down and compact back so fast. A lot of times you can turn dirt up, and after watering over it 2 or 3 times and it's dried up a little bit, then it's just as hard, or not too far off, as hard as it was when you started. So what that's doing is that's constricting the roots, and the roots aren't able to grow. And if a plant doesn't have good roots, obviously it's not going to grow very well. So if you are in a situation where you can start in the yard and in the ground, you're going to want to add something to that soil so that it won't compact back so fast. Peat moss is a great start. It's the easiest thing. You can just go buy it, put it in the ground, mix it all up nice and good, make sure it's spread out really well. And then from there, you can add the same store-bought fertilizers to that soil to help you get a good start for your plants. All right, so you've conquered bucket gardens, you've conquered raised beds, and you've conquered putting a garden in the ground and getting it to grow, and you've had some success over the past couple of years. So let's jump forward to where we're at. We have become aware of everything that's in food. And when I say that, I can go down a rabbit hole with this, but I'm going to use one example really, really fast. Most of the corn that you buy today in the grocery store is grown in fields, in big fields, and is genetically modified, which is GMO. I mean, genetically modified, whatever the O is. But what that means is that a lot of it is what they call Roundup ready. And that means that they can grow corn in the ground, and they can literally spray a poison that will not kill the plant. So where does that poison go? It goes into the dirt, it goes into the ground. Where are the roots for that plant? They're in the ground. So there's a lot of claims that after 24 hours or whatever, the main ingredient in Roundup is dead, it no longer does what it's supposed to do, and that it's safe for the environment. Yeah, okay, if you want to believe that, that's just fine, but I don't believe that. I believe that since they started doing that years and years and years ago, I think that cancer has gone through the roof. I think that all sorts of health issues have gone through the roof, and I think that a lot of the chemicals that we put in food today have a lot to do with that. So that is what we became aware of, and we did not want to eat that way. We didn't want to feed our family that way, and we didn't want to produce a product with our farm business that way. So if you look behind me, this is a pile of compost, and compost is probably the most natural way to fertilize a garden or fertilize anything. So we keep a ton of this stuff around. I'll tell you a little bit about it. We'll go into depth on compost soon enough, and it's a more advanced area, and I'll start, when we do that series, I'll start at the lowest end that somebody in a neighborhood could do and things like that. So anything and everything organic goes into compost. So this particular pile behind me, this is shavings and horse manure from our barn. So this gets cleaned out, and it goes into a pile. As it's in this pile right here, it heats, and as it heats, it breaks down, and as it breaks down, it becomes all of these things that are good for plants and all that kind of stuff. So where do we use compost? So we use compost on pastures as a fertilizer to help the grasses grow for our livestock. We use it in our gardens so that the gardens will be fertilized and we don't have to use the chemical crazy stuff from the store. So those are the biggest things that we use it for. So I'm going to show you 3 different types of compost that you can work your way towards in the future if you have the ability to do these things, okay? And like I said, we'll do a compost video soon enough, and you'll be surprised at how easily that you could do compost even in a small place. May not be a lot of it to use in a big garden or whatever, but it would be compost nonetheless. All right, so as I was talking, this pile here comes from the barn itself. This is horse manure and shavings and urine. It gets cleaned out once a week. So that goes here in compost. And what I do is I come down here with a tractor, and when I'm bringing the compost from the barn, I'll turn this pile over, okay? And when I turn it over, I mean, you get to see how much heat is in the middle of this thing, man, because steam comes out, everything on the inside is a different color and all sorts of stuff. So this is one type. Now, you'll see that these piles are separated. So this pile is fresh compost to me. This over here is old compost. So this is compost over last year. This is what we've been using to put things in and just kind of get ready for this year. So the garden this year, this is the compost that it'll get. So let me tell you what this is. This started off as a pile of wood chips. We have a deal with the people that clear the right-of-ways, and they ride around with a truck and a big chipper, and they push it into the back of the truck, and when it gets full, they would bring it to us and dump it. So how do we make this compost? So besides it composting on its own, we use this to compost our chicken remains when we process birds. We use it for hunting remains when we process deer. All of our household kitchen stuff, eggshells, the bases of broccoli, the skins off potatoes that we don't use. Anything that's organic all goes into the compost, and it all breaks down, and it all breaks down into good things for the dirt. And what's good for the dirt is good for you, it's good for the animals, it's just good all the way around. Right here, like I was talking about, you can see the steam rising from the compost as it heats from within. So this is what I'm going to call a compost starter for us. So this is the wood chips that we get from the people that do the right-of-way stuff. This is fresh wood chips. They were coming in this area and dumping these wood chips to us, and we've just taken them and done the different things with them. We've used them to fill up the bottom of our raised beds so that we'll have something easy. We won't have to use composted or topsoil or whatever to fill up the rest of the way. But this is a great start. There's a lot of different ways that you can get this, okay? You can buy a small wood chipper, and anytime that you trim your bushes around the yard or trim up, you know, if you have a piece of property, if you're trimming up trails or anything like that, anytime you do garden type work or landscaping type work around your property, take all of those trimmings and run them through that chipper. You're not gonna get a pile like this. Trust me, we went down that road and we tried, and it was almost impossible. I bought about a $600 or $700 chipper, and if we were doing garden beds, like raised beds and stuff like that, it would have been perfect, would have been great. But we're doing big gardens, and it's just not enough. So we went this route. This works great. We get this for free because they search for places to dump this stuff, or they pay to dump it somewhere. So it's easy to work out something like that with them. But this is stage 1 of compost. And then you got stage 2 down there where we dump all the chicken stuff and everything else in it. And then you have the horse manure. So what happens is that those 2 down there will get mixed together, and then they go into gardens and stuff like that. We'll show you some more of that before this video's out. But this is just some of the things that you will be looking at and getting ready to do when it's time to get your dirt ready so that you can produce a nice lush plant that's going to give you all the things that you expect it to. All right, I don't want to make this video crazy long, but I did start to talk about livestock, so I want to talk to you about how it all can tie together. So we talk about this compost, all right? So horses is that's a big livestock. I'm not telling you to go out and buy horses or that you got to have them to do this, but I do want to talk to you about chickens and rabbits. So both of those are great things to have. So whether you do rabbits as pets, or if you do meat rabbits, whether you have chickens for eggs or you raise a small group of broilers, the litter, the manure, all of those things are great for your compost. So when you look at livestock, you look at a couple of different things. So if you have rabbits, you're going to collect that litter under your rabbit cages or whatever, and you're going to add that to your compost. Rabbits make some of the best compost. Chickens, if you have chickens, it would be beneficial for you to move them around. Chickens are great for the ground. They're going to scratch it up. They're going to eat the bad bugs. They're going to drop their manure, which has tons of great stuff in it for the ground. And that ground is going to improve, no doubt. If you want to improve the ground, put chickens on it. Plus, if you have them in a tractor that you have a bedding in or anything like that, that bedding with that manure in it is amazing for your compost. All right, so where can you have chickens, right? So I know in our area, there's always, on Facebook groups and everything else, there's always an argument, oh, they're mad about my chickens again. So check your ordinance in a city, in a neighborhood, or anything like that. A lot of places will let you have up to 4, 5, 6 hens. It's the roosters that get everybody in trouble, and they're squawking and crowing and being loud. So look at that. If you're in a neighborhood somewhere and you want chickens, it's really not that big a deal, as long as they're not making a lot of noise and you keep their wings clipped and they're not flying over in the neighbor's yard and eating up their flower beds and things like that. Keeping them contained and keeping them quiet is the biggest thing, but you can keep chickens quiet and contained and happy and still get all the benefits of them. So the next one is rabbits. Rabbits are, they're great pets, number one. We've had rabbits for years and years and years off and on, but the manure is great. I don't think there's anything in any county ordinance or anything like that those are a livestock. Those are more considered pets. I think with those, it would be a smell. If you had some outside rabbit boxes that were up off the ground or something like that and you didn't clean out from under them very well, they can get to smelling pretty good. So using that compost and cleaning it out and practicing good animal husbandry with those animals would allow you to keep them in a really small area in an urban setting as well. All right, real quick. So no, y'all don't laugh at my tiller because it's springtime and it hasn't been dug out yet. We hadn't used it. So, but this is a tiller. I showed you some pictures of garden tillers and things like that. This is a tiller that goes on the back of my tractor. So once you graduate to some good sized property and you're doing things on a lot bigger scale, you'll probably want to get something like this. It'll help you tremendously. But those smaller tillers that I showed you earlier work great for small settings. So this is another great tool to look forward to in the future. This is a set of disc harrows. This is what we would normally use if we're going to start a new garden area. And if you look here beside it, so before I ran these couple of little passes with it right here, this is what it looked like. Now this is an area that we've gardened for a lot over the years. We let it get a ground cover in the wintertime if we didn't plant a winter garden, and then we allow the goats to eat it back down, and then we turn it all back in. So I just don't like leaving soil bare over the winter. A lot of things can die off in the soil, a lot of things that you need. So anyway, so you would do disc harrow first and then a tiller. All right, so some of the clips that you just saw are what got us to what we're looking at right now. So this is one of our garden spots that's already got compost mixed in with it, and this has just had the disc harrow run over it. So I'm gonna get down here and let you take a good look at it. That's probably all we're gonna do in this one. We'll get a tiller out next video and kind of turn the dirt in and show you the difference from this to what the tilled dirt looks like. All right, so this area is probably 25 by 50 maybe. So you see what size it is. So literally this is just a disc harrow run across it. We took the compost and kind of piled it and spread it as best we could with the tractor and the bucket. And then we just took the disc over it to get it kind of leveled out. Still not great leveled out, but it'll get better as we turn the tiller through it. So, but you know, you just look at it and I mean, there's a lot of good dirt in there, but so what happens with this is that these wood chips and things like that, they don't allow the dirt to compact, rather, not compost, but so those things, it's all organic. That stuff will break down and make great soil, but it'll also keep the soil soft so that the roots can spread out and grow and do what they need. All right, so let's recap. So number one, if you're just getting started, go to the store, buy you some good dirt, buy you some good fertilizer, put it in buckets, put it in beds, get started. If you're a little bit more advanced, or if you're gonna be working towards that, you're gonna wanna buy tools that you can turn and soften that dirt and get some in the ground. You're still gonna wanna use some kind of store-bought fertilizer or whatnot, and something to put in the ground like peat moss, like we talked about, to help you keep that dirt soft so that the roots can spread out and grow. If you are serious about this homesteading stuff, if you are serious about providing your family with the best thing that you can and grow your own and produce as much food as possible so you can stay out of the grocery store, start you some compost. Start you some compost. Find you an area big enough that you can plant a market-sized garden that you can produce a lot of food for you. And then eventually, when we get there with this homesteading journey, we're gonna go through some canning videos and some preserving videos as to how you can keep that food that you grow in the summertime throughout the year, and you can grow enough so that you'll have it for the year. That's what homesteading is all about, is providing for yourself for as long as you can throughout the year. So we've been doing that for a long time around here. My wife is amazing at canning. We do all sorts of stuff, from freezing, dehydrating, and canning stuff. And that's anything from meat, soups, peas, tomatoes, all kind of stuff. So there's a lot of great stuff coming up on these videos. So I appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't done so, please go down, like, subscribe, ring that bell so you'll see all the videos we put out, and we will see you on the next video.